Section 14 of The Travels of Ibn Battuta. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Mary Lou in New York City. The Travels of Ibn Battuta by Ibn Battuta. Translated by Samuel Lee. Chapter 25. Africa. From Granada I went to the Hill of Victory, and from that place took shipping and sailed to Subta, then to Asila, then to Salah. This is, according to Abulfeda, an ancient and thickly inhabited city, having on its west the ocean, and on its south a river, with gardens and vineyards. It is said that Abd el-Mumin, its high priest, built a large palace on the bank of the river on its south and adjoining the sea, and that his followers, choosing the parts adjoining, built the city which was called El-Mediyah. Salah, it is added, is a moderate-sized district of the extreme western division and the nearest part of it to Spain. Its soil consists mostly of red sand. The river is large and is subject to the reflux of the tide. The city abounds with provisions. The districts subject to its rule are on its south and are called Tamazna, abounding with cultivation and pasturage. I then traveled from Salah by land to Marrakesh, which is a most beautiful city of extensive trade and territory. One of its poets has thus described it: Morocco blessed in sight, in health, brave in nobles, great in wealth. Here will the homeless wanderer find welcome to cheer his drooping mind. One only doubt can now remain, such as to give a moment's pain, whether the eye or ear can boast the privilege of blessing most. From this place I went to Miknasa, near Fez, and situated on its north. It is remarkable for the great number of its olives. Ibn Said has said that Miknasa consists of two white cities, separated from each other the distance of a horse's course. It is one stage from Fez, and its river is called the Fulfal. Fez is, according to Abulfeda, two cities between which runs a river, and contains several springs which supply streams. Both cities have in all 13 gates. The water thus supplied runs into the streets, houses, and baths, a thing witnessed neither in the east nor the west. The place was founded since the times of Islamism. Ibn Said has related, after el-Hijazi, that when they began to dig for the foundations, they found an axe, a faz, in the excavations, and hence it took its name. It is said that there are within the city and upon its river about 300 water mills constantly worked by the stream. The people are remarkable for the comforts of life which they enjoy. El Faz is its citadel, which is situated on the highest spot in it, and through which the river runs. There are here 3 mosques in which there is preaching, and from it to Subta is a distance of 10 days. The source of its river is half a day's journey from the city. It then runs through meadows and among flowers until it enters the place. Fez is said, in the Atwal, to be a village of Tangiers. Then I went to the palace of Fez and presented myself to the commander of the faithful, the Sultan Abu Anan, may God give him happiness. After this I bade him farewell with an intention to visit Sudan, and came to Sigilmasa, which is a very handsome city. It produces very many good dates, and in the abundance of these it may be compared with Basra, except only that those of this place are the best. I lodged at this place with the theologian Mohammed el-Bashiri, the brother of him I had seen in the city of Kajanfur in China. I proceeded from this place in the beginning of the month Muharram and of the year 753, February 1352, with a large company of merchants and others. and, after a journey of 25 days, arrived at Tagari, a village in which there is nothing good, for its houses and mosque are built with stones of salt and covered with the hides of camels. There is no tree in the place. It has nothing but sand for its soil, and in this are mines of salt. For this they dig in the earth and find thick tables of it, so laid together as if they had been cut and placed underground. No one, however, resides in these houses except the servants of the merchants who dig for the salt and live upon the dates and other things which are brought from Sigilmasa, as well as upon the flesh of camels. Sigilmasa is eastward of Darha and is the capital of the district so called. It has a river which comes from the southeast, divides, and passes by the east and western parts of the city. It abounds in gardens and has 8 gates. At which gate, soever of these you go out, you will see the river, the palms, and other trees. Around all the gardens and palms there is a wall intended to keep off the predatory Arabs, and this encloses a space of 40 miles. The city adjoins the desert which divides between the western districts and Sudan. No building is to be seen either to the south or west of it. Ibn Said has said that its inhabitants poison dogs and eat them, and that its soil is soft and easy of culture. To them come the people of Sudan from their different districts, and load themselves with the salt, which among them passes for money, just as gold and silver does among other nations. And for this purpose they cut it into pieces of a certain weight, and then make their purchases with it. A handful of salt purchased 4 or 5 good-sized fish. The water of Tagari is poisonous. We found it injurious. Of this they take, however, to carry them over the desert, which is 20 stages in extent, and is without water. After passing this, we arrived at Tasala, a stage at which the caravans stop and rest 3 days, and then prepare to enter the great desert, in which there is neither water, bird, nor tree, but only sand and hills of sand, which are so blown about by the wind that no vestige of a road remains among them. People can travel, therefore, only by the guides from among the merchants, of which there are many. The desert is, moreover, exposed to the light, and is dazzling. We passed it in 10 days. We then came to the city of Abu Latin in the beginning of the month Rebia el Awal. This is the first district of Sudan, which, as they say, belongs to a lieutenant of the Sultan of the countries of Farbah, which means lieutenant. When we had got to this place, the merchants stowed their goods in an open area and charged some blacks with the custody of them. At this place I lodged with a man from Salah, but it was my wish to return from Abu Latin as soon as I had witnessed the vile dispositions of the blacks and the contempt in which they held the white people. It then occurred to me, however, that I would complete my knowledge of these countries, and accordingly we remained at Abu Latin 50 days. It is an exceedingly hot place, with a few small palm trees in it, under the shade of which they sow the melon. The water of the place is found in pits, having been absorbed by the sand. Mutton is in great plenty. Their clothing is all brought from Egypt. The greater part of the inhabitants are merchants. Their women are exceedingly beautiful and more respectable than the men. The character of these merchants is strange enough, for they are quite impervious to jealousy. No one is named after his father, but after his maternal uncle, and the sister's son always succeeds to property in preference to the son, a custom I witnessed nowhere else, except among the infidel Hindus of Malabar. But these are Mohammedans, who retain their prayers by memory, study theology, and learn the Koran by rote. As to their women, they are not shy with regard to the men, nor do they veil themselves from them, although they constantly accompany them at prayers. Anyone who wishes to marry one of them may do so, but he must not take her with him out of the country. And even if the woman should wish to go, her family will not allow her. It is a custom among them that a man may have a mistress of women strangers to him, who may come and associate with him even in the presence of her own husband and of his wife. In like manner, a man will enter his own house and see the friend of his wife with her alone and talking with her without the least emotion or attempt to disturb them. He will only come in and sit down on one side till the man goes. Upon a certain day I went in to the judge of Abu Latin, who was an eminent man, at that time my host, and with whom I had formed a friendship. I saw with him a handsome young woman and wished to leave him, for I knew his wife and that this was a different person. The woman smiled at me but did not blush. He said, "This is my female friend. She is no stranger." I remonstrated with him and said, "This is a strange woman. You are an eminent Qazi and judge of the Mohammedans. How then can you be alone with her?" He said, "This is our custom, nor is there any suspicion from our being in society together." He did not, however, benefit by my advice, nor did I visit him after this. I then proceeded from Abu Latin to Mali, the distance of which is a journey of 24 days, made with effort. The roads are safe, so I hired a guide and proceeded with 3 of my companions. These roads abound with trees, which are high and so large that a caravan may shade itself under just one of them. As I passed by one of these trees, I saw a weaver weaving cloth within a cleft of its trunk. Some of these will grow so corrupt that the trunk will become like a well and be filled with the rain water, and from this the people will drink. Sometimes the bees will be in these in such numbers that they will be filled with honey, which travelers take for their use. It is affirmed by Ibn Jazi el-Kelbi, the epitomator of this work, that there are in Andalusia 2 chestnut trees, such that a weaver may sit and weave cloth in them. Ibn Battuta proceeds, "The gourd grows so large in Sudan that they will cut one into halves, and out of these make 2 large dishes. The greatest part of their vessels, moreover, are made of the gourd." After 10 days from our leaving Abu Latin, we came to the village Zagari, which is large and inhabited by black merchants. Among these lives a number of white people of the Abbazia sect of heretics. We then left this place and came to the great river, which is the Nile. Upon it is the town of Karasanju, from which the Nile descends to Kabara, then to Zaga, the inhabitants of which were the first in these parts to embrace Islamism. They are religious and fond of learning. In the south of this district is the city of Zagawa. The villages of the people of Zagawa and Taju are extended through the space situated upon the windings of the Nile. They are people of the same stock, except that those of Taju are the handsomest and best behaved. It is said in the Azizi that from Dongola to the country of Zagawa westward is a distance of 20 stages. From this place the Nile descends to Tambaktu, then to Kawkaw, both of which we shall give some account. It is said by Ibn Said that Kawkaw is the residence of the Sultan of these parts, and that he is an infidel. Opposite to him on the west are the Muslims of Ghana, and on the east those of El Kanam. This place has a river named after itself, but the place itself is to the eastward of this its river. It is said in the Kanun that Kawkaw is situated between the equinoctial line and the beginning of the first climate. It is said in the Azizi that the latitude of Kawkaw is 10 degrees, and that the inhabitants are Muslims. In the city of Ghana is the residence of the king of the districts of Ghana, who lays claim to being a descendant of Hassan, son of Ali. To this place travel the western merchants from Sigalmasa through an immense desert of 50 days, and from it they bring nothing but red gold. Ibn Said has said that it has a Nile, which is a branch of the Nile of Egypt, and that it flows into the ocean in a longitude of 10½ degrees and in the latitude of 14 degrees, so that between this place and Ghana is a distance of about 4 degrees. Ghana stands on both sides of its river. It is also said that Ghana contains 2 cities, one of which is inhabited by Muslims and the other by infidels. The Nile then proceeds to the town of Muli, which is the extreme district of Mali. It then goes on to Yui, the greatest district of Sudan, and the king of which is the most potent. No white person can enter here, for if he attempt to do so, they will kill him before he reaches it. The Nile then descends from this place to the countries of Nubia, the inhabitants of which are Christians, then to Dongola, which is the largest district they possess, the king of which is named Ibn Khans Odin, who became a Mohammedan in the times of El Malik el Nasir. The Nile then descends to the cataracts, which terminate the regions of Sudan, dividing them from Upper Egypt. From Kar Sanju, I went to the river Sansara, which is about 10 miles from Mali. I then went to the city of Mali, the residence of the king. I there inquired for the residence of the white people and lodged with them. They treated me very honorably. The Mohammedan judge of the blacks, who was a celebrated Haji, made me his guest and sent me a present and a cow. I was sick for 2 months in Mali, but God restored me. It happened that Manai Soliman, the Sultan of Mali, a most avaricious and worthless man, made a feast by way of kindness. I was present at the entertainment with some of our theologians. When the assembly broke up, I saluted him, having been brought to his knowledge by the theologians. When I had left the place, he sent me a meal, which he forwarded to the house of the judge. Upon this occasion the judge came walking hastily to me and said, "Up, for the Sultan has sent you a present." I hastened, expecting that a dress of honor, some horses, and other valuables had been sent, but behold, they were only 3 crusts of bread, with a piece of fried fish and a dish of sour milk. I smiled at their simplicity and the great value they set on such trifles as these. I stayed here after this meal 2 months, but saw nothing from him, although I had often met him in their friendly meetings. I one day, however, rose up in his presence and said, "I have traveled the world over, and I have seen its kings, and now I have been 4 months in thy territories, but no present or even provision from thee has yet reached me. Now what shall I say of thee when I shall be interrogated on the subject hereafter?" Upon this he gave me a house for my accommodation with suitable provisions. After this, the theologians visited me in the month of Ramadan, and out of their whole number they gave me 33 mithqals of gold. Of all people, the blacks debase themselves most in presence of their king. For when any one of them is called upon to appear before him, he will immediately put off his usual clothing and put on a worn-out dress with a dirty cap. He will then enter the presence like a beggar, with his clothes lifted up to the middle of his legs. He will then beat the ground with both his elbows and remain in the attitude of a person performing a prostration. When the Sultan addresses one of them, he will take up the garment off his back and throw dust upon his head, and as long as the Sultan speaks, everyone present will remain with his turban taken off. One of the best things in these parts is the regard they pay to justice, for in this respect the Sultan regards neither little nor much. The safety, too, is very great, so that a traveler may proceed alone among them without the least fear of a thief or robber. Another of their good properties is that when a merchant happens to die among them, they will make no effort to take possession of his property, but will allow the lawful successors to take it. Another is their constant custom of attending prayers with the congregation, for unless one makes haste, he will find no place left to say his prayers in. Another is their insisting on the Koran's being committed to memory, for if a man finds his son defective in this, He will confine him till he is quite perfect, nor will he allow him his liberty until he is so. As to their bad practices, they will exhibit their little daughters, as well as their male and female slaves, quite naked. In the same manner will the women enter into the presence of the king, which his own daughters will also do. Nor do the free women ever clothe themselves till after marriage. The greatest part of them will eat stinking dead bodies, dogs, and asses. I traveled in the next place from Mali, the Sultan having given me 100 mithqals of gold, which place I left in the month of Muharram, in the year 54, A.D. February 1353, and came to a gulf which branches out of the Nile, and upon the banks of which there were very large beasts. I wondered at them, and thought they were elephants, from the great numbers there are in those parts. But when I saw them enter the water, I inquired about them, and was told that they were sea-horses, which go out to graze and then return to the water. They are larger than the land horses, and have manes and tails. Their heads are like those of horses, and their legs like those of elephants. I was told by some credible Hajis that the infidels of some parts of Sudan will eat men, but that they will eat none but blacks, because, they say, the white are injurious, on account of their not being properly matured, and that when their sultan happens to send his ambassadors to one of the kings of the black Mohammedans, and intends to honor them with a feast, he also sends to them a black slave, whom they kill and eat, and then return their thanks for the honor and favor done them. After some days I arrived at the city of Timbuktu, the greater part of the inhabitants of which are merchants from Latham, which is a district of Mali. Here is also a black magistrate on the part of the Sultan of Mali. I next arrived at the city of Karkar, which is large and one of the most beautiful in Sudan. Here they transact business with the Kauri, like the inhabitants of Mali. After this I arrived at the city of Bardama, the inhabitants of which protect the caravans. Their women are chaste and handsome. I next arrived at the city of Nakda, which is handsome and built with red stone. Its water runs over copper mines, which changes its color and taste. The inhabitants are neither artisans nor merchants. The copper mine is without Nakda, and in this their slaves are employed, who melt the ore and make it into bars. The merchants then take it into Infidel and other parts of Sudan. The Sultan of Nakda is a Berber. I met him and was treated as his guest, and was also provided by him with necessaries for my journey. I was afterwards visited by the commander of the faithful in Nakda, who ordered me to wait on him, which I did, and then prepared for my journey. I then left this place in the month of Shaban in the year 54, A.D. 1353, and traveled till I came to the territories of Hakkar, the inhabitants of which are a tribe of the Berbers, but a worthless people. I next came to Silmasa, and from thence to Fez, the residence of the commander of the faithful, to whom I presented myself and kissed hands. I now finished my travels and took up my residence in this country. May God be praised. End of section 14. End of the Travels of Ibn Battuta by Ibn Battuta, translated by Samuel Lee.